My name is Kayla Colliard, and I am the Symposium Coordinator from the SDSN. I'm very pleased to welcome you all to Day 2 of the 8th Annual Vatican Youth Symposium, hosted by the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network, the Youth Initiative, and the Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences. Although we're hoping to meet in person this year, the pandemic has made the decision for us, and we are convening for our second virtual edition with the final proceedings today. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. Please pose your questions for our speakers in the Q&A box, and be sure to state your full name and which country you are from. We encourage you to share your impressions with us on social media using the hashtag VYS2021 and tagging SDSN Youth to share your voices in our networking session, which is immediately following the final session of today. The link to connect to that session will be shared with you in the chat by our team. For those of you who joined us yesterday, and as I mentioned, this is my 4th Vatican Youth Symposium, and it wouldn't be possible without Ms. Gabriela Marino and Monsignor Marcelo Sanchez Sarando of the Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences, who I'm joined by today, and SDSN President Professor Jeffrey Sachs, who presented his remarks in yesterday's session. Today we'll be hosting 3 sessions, with the first focusing on human rights, dignity, and the collective Samaritan. The second will host discussions surrounding our common home, focusing on sustainable cities and communities. And our final and closing session, we will discuss elements of youth empowerment with a focus on financing and to announce the launch of an exciting new SDSN Youth initiative. Now, to get us started in our human rights session, we are thrilled to be joined by a very special guest, Her Royal Highness Princess Eugenie. Her Royal Highness Princess Eugenie is the co-founder of the Anti-Slavery Collective and has been working against modern slavery since 2012. She has worked across the board with leaders in the fight against modern slavery, visiting survivors with the UN Trust Fund to End Violence Against Women and the Salvation Army, speaking to world leaders at the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe's Alliance, and organizing a Tech Tackles Trafficking speaker series. Your Highness, thank you so much for joining us today, and the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. It is such a pleasure to be here from my home. I hope everyone is staying safe, because COVID has decided to ravage the UK and London at the moment. So I'm sitting in the comfort of my sofa. But yes, thank you for having me today. And yeah, I just wanted to tell you a bit about what I do and sort of how I have come about to do what I do. So I am the co-founder of the Anti-Slavery Collective. And that is an organization that I started with my best friend, Jules, back in, oh gosh, I think 2017. But pre that, we went to India, to Calcutta with my mum, and we went to visit this amazing woman called Aloka Mitra, who set up a charity called the Women's Interlink Foundation. And she rescued trafficked women off the streets, and she brought them into this home, and there they sort of learned how to print on fabrics, they learned how to do art, they learned how to do textiles, they learned how to make clothes, and they became these wonderful examples of how, when you are given an opportunity in life, how to take it, take the reins and go forward. And after being in Calcutta with these wonderful women, it was the first time that, I'd actually ever experienced modern slavery as a term. And it's something that continues. And so actually going to India and seeing what was happening was really shocking. And it brought us back to the UK, and we became these 2 sort of Inspector Clouseau, it's private investigators looking for sort of what was going on in this sort of field. And we found out that modern slavery is a global epidemic, and there are 40.3 million people enslaved today. And that's only a fraction of probably what it is, because it's a very hidden crime. And we realized that slavery exists from within a mile of where you live. And we met people who told us about survivors of trafficking or victims of people who have been trafficked in the UK, people living in the UK who have been trafficked by their next door neighbours and things like that. And all of a sudden it sort of became quite a harrowing issue rather than it just being something that we'd been told about. And it became something that, as William Wilberforce says, something you can't unsee. Once you've seen it, once you know, you can't look the other way. You've got to do something about it. And it's kind of amazing that we live in a society that means that you're faced with these kind of things every day, but people turn a blind eye. So Jules and I decided from that moment that we were going to raise awareness for this epidemic, because I was someone who didn't know, and so many people don't know about it, and it's in every walk of life. And so the minute we did that, we decided to set up the Anti-Slavery Collective, and together we have formed this lovely organization that is here as an umbrella organization to raise awareness for human trafficking and to bring people together, bring change makers together, and bring all sectors of society working together. So whether that's law enforcement, with politics, with the private sector, we just want everyone to come together to sort of work across all the fields. And I think something that really inspired us at the very beginning of this journey was the survivor. And when we came back from India, we went to meet some survivors in a safe house with the Salvation Army. And Seema is this amazing young woman who we met, and we arrived at the safe house sort of thinking, there was traffic, we're late, or my hair's gone frizzy, or, oh no, I haven't, I left the dishwasher on or something. And we got there and Seema said, I'm a survivor of human trafficking. I was trafficked by my next door neighbor in Manchester to a gang, and there unspeakable things happened to me. And from that, she obviously became, incredibly exploited and abused. And she managed to escape via the help of the Salvation Army. And she, when we met her, wanted to be a social worker. And she said to us, oh my God, I'm going to fight human trafficking. I'm going to make a stand. I'm going to stop this. This is such a terrible thing. And you guys, I want to do it with you. You're so cool. And I just thought to myself, my God, you're telling us that, but yet you're the coolest person in here for standing up and believing in herself and listening to her voice and owning herself and wanting to fight human trafficking. So that really inspired us on our journey. And, we then founded the Anti-Slavery Collective, and since then have worked in partnership mainly with survivors, because we believe that the survivor voice is so integral in this. But also we want to work with anyone who worked with us. So this lovely invitation today came, and it was an honor to be able to come and speak today, because the fact is, I set this up with my best friend because we both have a passion for it. And it's so easy sometimes to get weighed down and to get frustrated with the world and the problems that I think people put on us and the generation below us, the youth. And actually, you can do so much with so little. And I really believe in changing. If you can change one person's life, that's an amazing thing to do, and an amazing start to your journey and what you want to achieve. So Seema, for example, now she works with us on lots of different things that we do. She became a social worker. She now is looking at other fields to work in, but she's a survivor. She really is the epitome of a survivor. She's incredible. And I guess the message for me is that, I was inspired by her and my best friend to look at the world and see how I can affect change. And at the moment, we're living in a really terrifying, very anxious making situation, and it's not easy. But the fact that we're all here today talking about this is already, I think, pretty groundbreaking. And we're seeing everywhere across the globe, people, youth, old people, young people, individuals, things in music and film and poetry. We're seeing people changing the world. And, you know, my little story is just like a single pocket from the UK. And obviously there are many people all over the world here today who are wanting to change the world or who are changing the world. And I think it's amazing. And I think COVID almost has brought that out in us, the fact that we're so far away from each other, but yet we're so close, and we can all do something little to pass it forward, I guess, you know, to give someone a joy and kindness in a day, and make someone laugh, or tell them they look nice in their dress if you walk past a random person on the street, which I do a lot and they always find me very weird. But anyway, but I guess my message to everyone is, you know, surround yourself with the people that validate you. So, you know, Jules and I, we set up this collective, and it is difficult, you know, it's this topic we're talking about, you know, we're talking about a massive, massive human rights issue across the world that has only got exacerbated by COVID. You know, we know that in times of disaster, the vulnerable are the most exploited and the ones that are, you know, hurt the most. And so with COVID, it hasn't helped the situation, but it has, I think, brought this topic more to people's into people's minds and living rooms and mouths, and it's put it back on the agenda again. And I think it's something you have to be able to surround yourself with people that say, yes, I agree with you, I'm going to go and do that too. You know, don't let anyone tell you you can't do it, or that you shouldn't do it, or that your idea is silly. You know, surround yourself with people that want to also inspire you and be the change in the world that you want to see, you know. Uplift yourself with your dreams and your aspirations, and other people will do that too. You know, it's something that I think we have to do every day, is to keep fighting on, you know. Jules and I, you know, we're two best friends. When one of us is up, the other one is down. So, well, sometimes, not all the time, but it means that, you know, if you're trying to change the world and you want to, do it with the people you love. I find at the end of the day, if you are not feeling too happy with the way the day's gone, you always have that person who you love to do it with you, who makes you smile. I actually wanted to tell you all about this amazing guy who was in the Navy. Oh, he was in the Navy SEALs, that's it. And he wrote a book called How to Make Your Bed, I think it is. And he made a speech, which is like, in the morning, if you've gotten up and made your bed, you've already done something incredible for the day. And when he told me this, when I read the book, I was like, yay. So now every morning I make my bed and I'm like, you know, I'm halfway there for the day. But, you know, I wanted to tell everyone that, you know, your voice is very powerful, and you shouldn't ever think it's not. And you have to be the change in the world that you want to see for your children eventually. And I do for my child, August, who is screaming upstairs as we speak. So I'm kind of distracted, but I want this world to be amazing for him to grow up in. And I think it's something that, you know, we're all here today doing that. So I'm amazed that you've invited me here. Thank you so much for having me. And, you know, please, my biggest thing for everyone is I have a small organization. We managed to raise awareness and do some amazing things with very little support. And it's incredible what you can do by raising your voice, by coming together, by speaking out on social media, by talking to your local MPs in the UK or wherever you guys are from. You know, there's something that Bobby Kennedy called the ripple effect. I'm just going to read you this quote, because each time a man or woman stands up for an ideal or acts to improve the lot of others or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope, and crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, those ripples build a current that can sweep down the mightiest walls of repression and resistance. And I love it, because hopefully you can inspire someone with what you believe, and they can go off and do the same. So thank you for having me today. And I think you're all pretty cool, even though I can't see anyone, I can just see myself. But it's been a joy to talk to you today. And I just wanted to say, yeah, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Your Highness. And just like you said, I think the main takeaway from that is, as you mentioned, if you can inspire one person, and then it becomes a ripple effect. So just reminding everyone that regardless if you're in the younger generation or the older generation, like your choices do matter. And that talking about challenging and sometimes very uncomfortable conversations of topics of things that are going on in the world is how change is made. So thank you to you and your best friend, Jules. I love that you guys are doing this together. So thank you so much for coming together to make better choices and teaching young people how to stand up for themselves and to move forward and be a strong leader. And that's really how change is made. And that's what the symposium is for. So what you said couldn't have probably hit the mark any much stronger about what our mission here is today. And I wish you and Jules the best. And from now on, I will wake up and to make my bed to start the day and conquer it. So
good, very good. Much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So now I'm going to hand over to Ms. Gabriela Marino, who is the other coordinator of the Vatican Youth Symposium, where she is at the Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences. So Gabriela, thanks so much.
Hi, hello everyone. I'm missing you all so much. It's nice and it's sunny here at the Vatican, and it would have been a joy to host you. This is our second year of going virtual, but we sincerely hope that we will be back to meeting in person in 2022. And I really hope that you will be able to join us, and we will finally be able to look one another in the eyes and inspire one another even more. And we've created some amazing friendships throughout the years, and a lot of people that I know and I cherish are here today with us. And it really is, we just have to be strong enough to survive this together. And then finally, I hope that next time we will be able to have you all back here. So it is my real pleasure now to introduce you to Asmita. Asmita Satyarti is the Executive Director of the Global Sustainability Network, which is a network based in London that Bishop Sanchez helped create, and he's actually one of the panelists here today. And I have been very privileged to take part in the network ever since its beginning, and I can attest to all the wonderful people that make up this network and who are all totally committed to making the world a better place. The GSN's mission is to harness the power of people and meaningful action-driven partnerships to achieve Goal 8, to end modern slavery and ensure decent work for all. Because as we know, without decent work, people can fall prey to other people's worst intentions. So Asmita is the Executive Director. She's been the Executive Director since last February. And she is also involved with Bal Ashram Trust as a trustee and advisor. And the ashram focuses on the holistic rehabilitation of children rescued from trafficking and slavery through their education. So she has basically grown up in this world. So thank you so much, Asmita. I will give the floor to you now. And I look forward to what you're going to say.
Thank you so much, Gabriela. Hello, everyone. First of all, a big thank you to my personal icons, Monsignor Sanchez and Jeffrey Sachs. And a big thank you to the wonderful team of the Vatican Youth Symposium, SDSN, Gabriela, Kayla, and Brighton. I had a chance to say a quick hello to you, but I'm looking forward to speaking more later on. I hope we do get to do that soon. And Princess Eugenie, you are an inspiration. I loved the story, your story of change and all the wonderful work that you've been doing, and also the wonderful work my co-panelists have been doing. So it's a true pleasure to be here today. I truly hope that all of you and your loved ones are safe and healthy. Of course, we know that the COVID-19 pandemic has been a setback for sustainable development everywhere. We know that the numbers look quite bleak. For the first time since the adoption of the SDGs in 2015, the global average SDG index score has actually decreased in 2020 from the previous year. The global progress against child labor has stalled as well for the first time in 2 decades. The TIP report tells us how COVID-19 has worsened the situation for human trafficking everywhere. It has increased the number of people more vulnerable to be trafficked. It has also interrupted the existing efforts and ongoing efforts and planned efforts against trafficking. The number of missing children has increased everywhere. At the GSN's Global Missing Children Alliance, we are identifying unique solutions and getting different stakeholders together, such as technology companies and frontline organizations, to get together and work together. For example, we have a training this Monday, coming Monday, where we will have NGOs and frontline workers from India actually sharing proven best practices with frontline workers from Pakistan.
Wow.
But there's so much more work to be done. According to UNICEF, 10 million additional girls are at risk of child marriage. And so many more are at risk of being pushed into slavery and the worst forms of exploitation. There are 120,000 COVID orphans in India and millions of children and adults around the world who are at the risk of the worst forms of exploitation. These are not just numbers on a piece of paper. These are actual living, breathing men, women, and children. Just like your parents, just like your younger brothers and sisters. What would you do if your own family members were at risk of exploitation? That is the urgency with which we need to act. I was asked to speak about my aspiration for the youth and what can the youth actually do. The youth of the world needs to act, and we need to act now. The pandemic has been the harshest reminder to jolt us from our complacency and the business as usual attitude that's been going on for generations. We are the generation that cannot say we didn't know any better, because we do know better. We know that no matter what our religion, our caste, our race, our culture, our socioeconomic status, we have all faced and continue to face the same crisis. We know, like Princess Eugenie said, we are all in it together. At the GSN, it was so wonderful to see our members from all over the world come together when India was going through the horrifying second wave. That is our shared humanity. Deep down somewhere, we know that it is not the number of our social media followers, but the deep-rooted human connections we have with each other that has come to our rescue. We know that every single person deserves social protection. And when others do not have adequate healthcare systems or do not have quality education, it impacts us directly. We also know that the world cannot afford to act out of selfish greed or short-term profit maximization. And we must understand the large scale and the long-term consequences of our individual choices. That is our individual accountability. We know that we must hold the political and the economic powers of the world accountable. Every single youth is a change maker in their own right. If Seema can stand up for herself and actually inspire a living, breathing princess, why can't we stand up for the Seemas of the world? No matter where you are, just remember to stand up for the most vulnerable and the disadvantaged, as you would for yourself or for your loved ones, through your words and also through your individual daily actions. I know I'm probably out of time, but I want to quickly say that GSN is organizing a conference on how we can all combine forces to address the pandemic, to address the challenges the pandemic has posed to achieving Goal 8. This is happening on January 26th to 28th, 2022, and we would love for all of you to participate. We are also creating a lot of interesting, exciting, action-based alliances of different groups, including faith leaders, business leaders, schools and universities, because we want to truly harness the power of collaborative action. And we would absolutely love for all of you to be involved. A big thank you to everyone. I truly believe that we can and we will achieve the SDGs together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Asmita. That was a very powerful speech. We could really feel your passion even across the screen. So thank you also for extending the GSN invitation to anybody who wants to join. So if anybody's interested, then I think they can contact me and I will then forward these the messages to you. And so I think I will save the questions until everybody has had a chance to speak so that we make sure that there's enough time. So I would now like to introduce Rania Ali. She is a journalist, a public speaker, and a human rights defender from Syria. She made the first award-winning documentary with The Guardian in 2017. I must say I watched it and it was harrowing and I was literally in tears at several points through it. And I don't know how you were able to be so brave and also film your way through it and have the wits about you to hold on to everything and to think of making something out of this terrible experience. So she works with several NGOs as a campaigner, and she is an advocate for human rights and especially for refugees and women's rights. At the moment, she's pursuing a degree in international relations. So the floor is yours. Thank you, Rania.
Thank you so much, Gabriela, for the lovely introduction. Good evening, everyone. I mean, it's good evening where I am right now. I'm in Seoul, South Korea. It's almost 10:30, but it's wonderful to be amongst wonderful humans on this evening. Thank you so much for the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network and the Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences for the invitation. It's definitely humbling to be here. First of all, allow me to quickly introduce myself. Yeah, my name is Rania Ali. I'm a journalist from Syria. I started working as a journalist not because I was trained for it or I studied for it, but it was a force of a situation that we as Syrians had to equip ourselves with. Coming from a war-torn country that is fighting to this very moment for its freedom, I had to understand at a very young age the importance of fighting for human rights. And at these challenging times, equal rights and tolerance have proven themselves to be a vital fight that we must win. I've worked as a freelance journalist and a human rights defender with various NGOs. And although a lot of my work has been life experience informed, the aim was always to bring attention to the plight of refugees and the Syrian people. For me, from the very, very start, young refugees stuck on the Greek islands been the center of my work for the past few years. That meant bringing their voices to the policymakers of Europe, and this has been honestly the pleasure of my life. I have co-led a project called Living Together that worked towards bringing the voices of youth of Europe, that means migrants or Europeans themselves, to the policymaking table. Later on, I got the chance to move on to a very rewarding project with Amnesty International and Amnesty UK, employing leaders to protect human rights defenders worldwide. And to this very day, my work is still oriented around providing spaces for conversation, conveying messages, and I will give myself I will allow myself to say that I have worked to bring forth bring forth the voices of those who feel that they were silenced. Recently, I have been focused on intergenerational conversation because today's youth, it was brought to my attention by a friend that today's youth blame the previous generation, and the previous generation are the current leaders who refuse to listen what the young people has to say. And in a world where no one deserves to live as the other, and following the footsteps of SDG 16, promoting just, peaceful, and inclusive societies, I began to organize a series of interviews that's going to be collected as a show called Life as the Other, which aims to fill the existing vacuum between foreigners and host communities, as well as youth and older generation. I still need to work on choosing the right words. Through highlighting the following key concepts through shared life experiences. That means tackling social issues, tolerance, combating racism, promoting equality and coexistence, youth participation, highlighting our inherent diversity, changing narratives, intersectionality, and sharing experiences. As I've mentioned before, currently I'm based in Seoul, South Korea, and that means the project will begin here, will follow through Vienna, neighboring cities in Europe, and ultimately trying to expand to the Middle East and North Africa. To showcase examples of lived experiences of foreigners and hosts that recount their experiences of living or existing side by side, and the initiatives that they have taken upon themselves to make their surrounding peaceful, more livable, all the while reconciling two very important and equal narratives of living in the same country or living together in the same society. The project will operate as a communication opportunity for a shared intergenerational responsibility. My aspiration for today's youth is that I hope that we can get to a point where we can take ownership over how our voices are represented. The youth are the future, and this is not just a cliche, it's just a fact. And any decision that's going to be taken must have their voices included. The generation is going to be affected by any policy should be the one that is going to make it. And in these challenging times, as COVID-19 paralyzed many people's lives, I still consider myself as a very lucky person. And although I can complain about how being based in South Korea and trying to kickstart any project has become extremely difficult because of lack of funds or among many others, because the priority is still placed on ensuring a healthy environment while combating the virus. But the result is that many other issues are being marginalized, are being sidelined. However, it is very important to remember that nothing goes alone. Everything is interlinked. Everything comes together. Human rights, COVID-19, youth, older generation, young generation, climate change. This is sexism, racism. These are all things that come all together, creating a bigger problem that we must all take responsibility for and fight for. Since human rights cannot be overlooked, especially these times, because we all know that in the case of COVID-19, the marginalized were the ones who were most affected. The pandemic also gave excuse to more racism and intolerance. And it's become very easy because of fear, politicians, whatever the reason is, to blame others for the problems that we all have either created together or we should take responsibility for together. So As youth, we cannot give up. It is definitely our responsibility to convey the messages that we need to have heard, the messages that talk about our shared future. This means speak up for what you believe in. Know that human rights are shared, and always be inspired to be engaging in creating a safe and inclusive community for people of all genders, ages, nationalities, ethnicities, and religions to live in peace. I will try to, probably I am also over my time, but I am finishing. But I was really inspired by the two previous speakers. Princess Eugenie, for example, mentioned that we really are so far away from each other, but we are so close. And since we are so close, human rights cannot be overlooked. Human rights violations cannot be unseen. We cannot afford to be desensitized to what is happening around us, to others. What happens to other, if it doesn't happen to you, does not mean that you should turn a blind eye to it. Since development has connected us on a communication level in a very good way, we must not forget to connect on a human level. And closing off with a few words that I have heard recently, and frankly, I don't know who said them, so still credits to whoever said them. The best way to live your life and the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I look forward to hearing all the other amazing speakers and to questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you, Rania. That was, it was amazing to listen to your experience. And I urge everybody to go onto your website and to at least click on your documentary and see what you went through. And I think that is immensely inspiring in itself. As Princess Eugenie said, we, one day you might be worried about, I don't know, I parked the car in the wrong place, or something's not going right, whatever. And then, to watch what you have been through and the way you're thriving today is just an amazing inspiration. And I think that it would be uplifting for everybody. So I would like to go on now to the next speaker, Carol Arambula. She is the CEO and founder of My World Mexico, which is a hub of action for the sustainable development goals in Mexico. She is engaged. She engages stakeholders and individuals in the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which we as an academy too are hugely involved in, especially because we have obviously Jeffrey Sachs leading us, and he is now a new member of our academy, so we're even more proud of our work with him. And so Carol has the initiative that she has launched has now impacted upon 10 million people across Mexico and Latin America. So congratulations for this huge success. And Carol is an experienced campaigner, public speaker, and mobilizer for 15 plus years. Carol, please, I won't speak anymore, just tell us your story. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Good morning from Mexico. Still really dark over here. It's almost 8 a.m. And I would like to start with a quote from the founder of the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network, which is Jeffrey Sachs. And he recently, this year actually, at the UN Food Summit, said a quote that really reminded me of the reasons why I work with sustainability and among other issues that relate to human rights. And he said that the SDGs are our generation's call to honor the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And that's something so powerful to say and so true that we have developed all this incredible protection mechanism in the last almost 80 years with the UN support and many mechanisms that even though that those have been adopted, we still witness and allowed for many abuses, violations to happen across the globe. And ever since I was very little, I was interested in this development and sustainable development experiences that focused on both environmental protection and human rights. And I carry this around when I'm traveling or in other countries. This is the flag that was given to the young people who participated in the 2015 Sustainable Development Summit. Those of us who were privileged to be there. And I remember Malala and the UN envoy and all of the young people who were there saying and calling on member states to deliver this agenda and for us to be vigilant of delivering that agenda. And that's what leads to my story here. Now I have an organization which is actually a social business that has, yes, impacted upon 10 million people and has worked with young people for almost a decade now. And that happened out of my very own curiosity of making sure that my country and my region and my state, Jalisco, here in Mexico, would participate in the definition of a new global development agenda who was set to not leave anyone behind. So I started contacting a few of my friends, making sure that we were going to place a project that was fortunately sponsored by an NGO here, Corporativa de Fundaciones. And basically, we aim to collect 200,000 votes in the My World survey that the UN facilitated to kind of like be there, at least having our representation there in the 2030 agenda. So we didn't collect 200,000, we collected almost 500,000 in a highly successful process that was led here in Jalisco. And when we were there, we actually gained an award in the UN Sustainable Summit in 2015 for young girls. We were only 24, 25 back then. We were extremely overwhelmed that our very, very local interests got the attention of so many people. And we were able to be there as young people who empower, as young people who facilitated a process. And after the adoption of the SDGs, everyone was just like, what is next? I mean, we need to defend the consultations, the voices that we brought to such a high level, all of the different things that were said in the agenda that need to be complied by member states. So My World Mexico became something that started in the state, but spread across Mexico. And now we had over 300 member organizations. We have thousands of volunteers every year who are inspiring, mobilizing, and connecting people towards the SDGs. And I had no idea that this would happen during that this is something that I never envisioned. But my message to you in that way is that there are possibilities for young people to create wide impact if you have the good people around you, if you have the heart on it, the passion on it. I think that passion moves you a lot. Passion makes you be brave. And of course, not letting anyone tell you that you're too young, or because you're a woman, because I've been encountering those spaces too, or because you lack experience, or because you're so naive. Life works the other way around. Aside from what I've done with My World Mexico, I have very crazy and close experience with human rights abuses. I, for example, spent 4 years working with the UN in Colombia in the peace process, looking at the consequences of war, looking at the consequences of not having it been able to provide with sustainable development opportunities to populations that only need a little push forward to have a great impact. So I hope that I'm about to shut down. I hope this message helps you understand that no matter where you are in the world, no matter how small you think your impact can be, you definitely can pursue something bigger than you if you surround yourself with a lot of good people who are out there. Because we constantly get bad news or people trying to push us down. News everywhere that yes, the world is going in the wrong direction at the moment, but I think we'll still have a chance to turn things around and flip the script, and that starts by telling ourselves that we can do it. So I hope I was lovely to be here and listening to all the previous speakers, and I'm happy to share the information of My World Mexico too.
Thank you so much, Carol. That was fantastic. So I think that the recipe that I've gathered now, the ingredients of the recipe for success, I think, are as you said, as everybody here demonstrated actually passion about something, if you're passionate, and it's like when you're in love, nobody will stop you, right? So you really have to pick an issue that you are passionate about. And as I also, when I was watching Rania's documentary, I thought, you were passionate about documenting it. So you really had you made sure you had the right tools. You made sure that you kept your phone, that you were documenting the process on safe and your other documents. And I think you need, it has to come from inside you. Obviously, people can't push you to do it if you don't have it inside you, right? And then also, the second step, I think, would be support from like-minded people that may or may not be your friends when you start, but that will certainly become your friends when you find a common interest. So please, I would like to just listen to a quick, rapid comment from you on now up at the end, for the end of the session. We only have like a couple of minutes. Thank you. Asmita, if you want to start, just, okay.
Yes, very quickly, I would also like to answer this question that's been asked about young people having a seat at the table. So what we've seen during the course of our work is that young people, children themselves, are really the best advocates to fight for the rights of young people. So, some of the girls that we've worked with in the Banjara community, so this is the nomadic community of India, where, these girls are first generation schoolgoers, have actually stood up against child marriage themselves, and their own and their communities, right? So it's been incredible. And then even in the child-friendly villages, which is a very unique model that we have, it's entirely based on participative reform. And we've seen enormous success where children themselves are elected, which is a council of child leaders, which works in tandem with the council of leaders in the village. So at that local level, participative reform really has the potential to impact an enormous change and cause transformation, sustainable transformation in that sense. Some of these children have gone on to become doctors, lawyers, engineers, and have become agents of change themselves. So I absolutely agree with Santa, and I would like to say that we must encourage our youth to stand up for the rights of others.
Thank you so much, Asmita. That's wonderful, and very. I would love to come and visit you and be introduced to some of these programs.
You have to, Gabriela.
Thank you. And Rania, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to quickly. I will go back to one of the questions later, but just want to say that what can be taken from this wonderful panel and the active participation is that there's inspiration that can be found anywhere, and there is any one of us can do something that can leave an impact on someone, even if it's a very small thing, even if you think it doesn't matter, it must have left some sort of an impact, because whether it's the ripple effect, whether it's whatever it is that's going to be it's going to happen, it will change it for the better. And I guess since I'm really sorry for butchering your name, but Dimitri Diritiman, I'm so sorry. I can't pronounce the name, but I guess because the main reason that the SDGs can be viewed as very heteronormative is that there's space for improvement everywhere, and there is always things that we can work on. That doesn't mean that LGBTQI community are not a priority. It's just that the way that it always starts, the way that our world has been functioning, and that the reason why we keep talking is that there's a lot to be changed and a lot to be improved. So thank you for bringing that to everyone's attention here. And yeah, I agree. There definitely should be something to be done in that area too. And I would be one of the people to support that. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's great to have you with us. And I really hope that we will be able to meet in person next year. So Carol, please, you have the closing words of wisdom.
Yes, I think that we shouldn't focus so much on what's missing in the SDGs, because when you look at it, there's a part that says human rights are across the entire 2030 agenda overall. So I think that we must work with what we have, try to perfect that, work on that better once the deadline has passed. But I think that we must focus on the action that's needed now in terms of protecting our planet and making sure that everyone's well-being is secure. I think that we need to stop discussing, we need to stop arguing and focusing on working together on what's important. And especially this generation that would definitely need to work harder because of the consequences that we have left it so far. So that would be my message. And don't let anyone tell you that you cannot do what you want to do with your inspiration.
Yeah, thank you. I think the one thing that, so I've learned so much from Jeffrey Sachs, but one thing that I have learned is that that always amazes me is that even if he gets some news that is not what he is expecting, he always says, wonderful, so let's take this and turn it into this. And he always makes something very positive out of it and builds on it. Whereas maybe, if I read it, I would be disappointed and think, oh, it's not what I wanted. So that is the same as what you just said. I totally agree. So we will have to now wrap up this session, and I will introduce the next session on our program. And I would like to now give the floor to Ana in Estrellas. It's lovely to see you again, Ana. And she is the project lead of the Local Pathways Fellowship at SDSN Youth, who are our partners. She is a sustainable cities and innovation advocate, and she previously ran operations at Smart Cities New York. So thank you very much, Ana, and the floor is yours.
Hello, thank you for a very warm introduction. Yes, I am Ana in Estrellas, and I lead the Local Pathways Fellowship, which is SDSN Youth's program that focuses on cities. So it is my pleasure to welcome you all to the 5th session of the Vatican Youth Symposium, our common home, sustainable cities and communities, where we will have 4 amazing speakers who are leading change on the ground in cities they represent, but also around the world. I would like to kick off the session by giving a little bit of context on why it is important for us to focus on cities. And that is because by 2050, cities will be home to 70% of the world's population, leaving no doubt that the achievement or failure of the Sustainable Development Goals will be determined in urban areas. In this rapidly urbanizing world, where we were already being forced to ask very tough questions about how could we solve the unprecedented challenges that cities were facing, COVID-19 came to stress these and urge for change. Now, why do we need to focus on youth in cities? Well, that is because half of the world's population today is under the age of 30, and a large majority of them aspire or are already living in urban areas. Young people are 40% more likely to move into cities, so the urbanization trend that we're going to be seeing in the coming years comes largely from this population. And what they bring with them is a belief in a great future, and they are ready to contribute with energy, creativity, ambition, and ultimately the ability that they have to conceive a better world. And this talent shouldn't be wasted. However, the people taking the decisions on how our cities are shaped are usually over 30. And they don't usually go and get feedback from the younger people who are the ones that are going to be the users of these future cities. There are many young people around the world, as we've learned from this program, with the skills and interest to contribute. After all, they're going to be the ones living the longest with the consequences of the decisions made today. So this is the goal that we try to fill with the Local Pathways Fellowship. We equip young urban leaders with the tools and resources they need to implement solutions and have a voice in the development of their city. I'm going to try to explain what our program does as simply as I can, so that I can go ahead and introduce our lovely set of speakers. So at Local Pathways Fellowship, every year we launch a call for applications where we receive around 1,000 applicants, out of which we choose 100. Our program runs from February to November. Throughout these 10 months, the fellows complete a series of tasks, all of them towards the goal of developing a project that ultimately improves quality of life in their city. For this, they get guidance throughout the project development. So every month they receive an assignment that goes on shaping their project. On the first half, we focus heavily on research. Are there any policies around the issue of focus that they want to solve? Is there any data available? Mapping out the stakeholders that play a role around this challenge. And then on the second half, we move forward to the ideation portion, where they shop around their idea, either with the stakeholders that they mapped out in the beginning, with their peers of the fellowship, or run interviews on the field. Throughout the development of their project, they are supported both by the local Pathways Fellowship team, but also by a newly launched mentorship program, where which is fueled by alumni from LPF. So a fellow that has already developed a project guides them throughout the year on what were the challenges that they faced when they were building a project. And we pair them either based on location, so it will be someone that has expertise in this region, or based on topics. So if there's someone focusing on mobility, we pair them with a fellow that developed a mobility solution in the past. Throughout the 10 months, they also complete the Sustainable Cities SDG Academy course, which is a comprehensive course that consists of a series of pre-recorded lectures, readings, quizzes, discussion forums, led by Aruma Ravi, who is the director of the Indian Institute for Human Settlements and one of the world-leading experts in sustainable cities. The purpose of this course is to provide the fellows with the key principles in sustainable urban planning to be applied during the project development phase of the fellowship. We also have a webinar series where we bring a guest speaker in every month to share some insights with the fellows on their role on the sector, and this helps the fellows connect with organizations and expand their professional network with experts in the field. We also help them get visibility opportunities to their projects. We share their work in obviously all of our social media channels. SDSN, we have internal local Pathways Fellowship social media channels, SDSN Youth channels, and then even support from SDSN on sharing the work they push forward. We get them speaking events at international events, interviews with magazines, books, and so on. And the last pillar of our program, but not the least, I actually think this is the most valuable one, is the peer-to-peer network. They have a cohort that they connect with of 100 people that are passionate about the same topics and are based in different cities around the world. So they have this at their fingertips. So let's say one fellow wants to develop a project on public spaces. They can easily send out a note to the cohort and say like, hey, what is the most innovative project going on in public spaces in your cities? And in the snap of a finger, they have research that it would have taken anyone so much longer to do, of what is the most, what are the newest projects going on in 100 different cities in different regions, and they can see if there's anything similar to what they want to implement and reach out to them and ask, were there any challenges? Are there any lessons learned that I can like skip, or is there any way to leapfrog the implementation of the solution? So I think this network is very, very valuable. At the end of the day, they are all very passionate about these topics, and there's obviously more knowledge on that side of the room than on the one we have. At the end of the day, we're a team of eight serving 100 people. So we very much acknowledge that the larger knowledge is on their side. So our program ultimately showcases what can be done when youth urbanists from around the world connect to advanced problem solving for sustainable development, and it highlights their potential. And what a better way to learn how the program works than hearing from a fellow herself. Therefore, it is with great pleasure that I introduce our first speaker, Aditi Rai. She is a 2021 cohort fellow. She graduated just last month. Aditi is an architect and urban planner from India. Her practice and research interests stem from the confluence of urban development, public policy, housing, heritage, and art. She currently sits as the Senior Executive for Design and Strategy at Gotrek Properties Limited. And as an SDSN Youth Fellow, she developed a project that focuses on a local area plan proposal to enable localization of SDG 11 in the UNESCO World Heritage City of Ahmedabad. Aditi is also a World Economic Forum Global Shaper and a representative for Emerging Young Professionals Group and the co-coordinator for the National Scientific Committee at ICOMOS India. Her existing research at ICOMOS India focuses on realizing the multidimensional role of urban heritage in city development processes. So, without further ado, I give the floor to Aditi so that she can share the project that she's been working on.
Thank you for a very, very warm introduction. So greetings from India. I am really privileged to be a part of today's panel, and I thank SDSN, especially the LPF team, for the opportunity. I'll be talking about my experience as an LPF fellow, and I will try to also address the myriad of possibilities that can assert the role of young mind in the development process. So as a part of the fellowship, I got the opportunity to work with the Center for Environmental Planning and Technology, my alma mater, Women's Housing Trust, and Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation, the urban local body, to build a strategy for localizing SDG 11 in the UNESCO World Heritage City of India. And as I began my journey, I had several questions. First, can heritage actually be the driver for sustainable development? And what are the multifaceted identity of a heritage city or a town that can help in informing the public policies? Also, the most important one, what can a young individual like me with limited resources, limited power, limited expertise, and vast passion can do to assert the right of locals living in those dilapidated homes in the historic cores of Indian cities? This particular project was actually a process that answered all these questions. So I'll start by giving a little introduction about the Indian cities. According to the census 2011, India has around 4,041 statutory towns, and majority of these have grown from their historic urban cores and are under multiple public and private ownerships. The very low municipal funding and private investments, also the instigated change in land use, degenerated environment, dilapidated physical infrastructure, and gentrification has resulted in poor access to adequate, affordable, and viable housing and the basic infrastructure facilities. The COVID-19 pandemic has further worsened the situation by blocking the economic opportunities, and due to the very dense built fabric of these particular areas, the rate of infection spread is observed to be the maximum in these heritage cores, which was further amplified due to the unhygienic lifestyle and pollution. The city's comprehensive planning process and the financial tools and a range of statutory documents such as the city development plans, zoning ordinances, regulations rarely incorporate any real means of rewarding those who follow imposed requirements, which are the owners of these heritage properties and who face the loss of the opportunity cost. So this project particularly focused on a precinct called Manik Chowk. It's a mixed-use heritage precinct at the core of the Ahmedabad city. And this particular area is taken as a case to study, recommend, and illustrate strategies to plan and improve the urban areas with heritage value. And the tool that has been adopted for this process is a local area plan. So what is a local area plan? It's basically a statutory mechanism to realize the vision of a city's development plan at very grassroots levels. This project particularly focuses on two areas. First is the public realm, that means the public spaces in that precinct, which are commonly used by everyone who are living there, or having their occupations run from that particular site. And the second is the private realm, that is the private heritage listed properties. And the project proposes solutions for the improvement of these spaces. For example, for public spaces, it is basically the transport, water, solid waste, electricity, and fire infrastructure. And in the private spaces, it is basically the conservation of these listed properties. So the aim is to basically improve the working and living conditions of the users operating in this dynamic urban space, and simultaneously conserve and safeguard its rich heritage repository. In simple words, it addresses the infrastructure needs of a heritage precinct along with realizing the conservation of the same. The key beneficiaries of this project included local business owners, shopkeeper associations, residents, the vendor associations, and community organizations that are currently operating from this area, as well as the Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation, that is an urban local body, who is preparing itself for the upcoming UNESCO World Heritage City Tag Review, as well as Olympics 2036 bid. So this project is basically a very important one for the city because it is located right in the center, at the heart of the city, and it will help identifying the the importance of the UNESCO listed heritage town in terms of the national and international context. So the project began with the identification of the project area and the listed structures. And basically, this precinct is very unique because it has different multiple uses at different times of the day. It functions as a jewelry and vegetable market and a public parking space in the day. And at the night, it becomes a food paradise. You'll see various food vendors working and various tourists and locals visiting that place till 3 a.m. in the morning. The second step was to basically identify the problems pertaining to basic infrastructure and congestion in this precinct, which was followed by a series of interviews, meetings, workshops held with the stakeholders, the beneficiaries, the project partners, and the anchors to identify the possible solutions. So here I was just an individual, a young fellow who actually went door to door, trying to talk to each and every stakeholder, trying to connect to people who were interested in such a sort of project, would able to resonate with my vision. And I went to my university back from where I have graduated. I went to the NGOs and tried to make a group of people who will be interested in working in this project. And after understanding the possible solutions, sitting along with the stakeholders and the locals on site, we tried to map these solutions in a cost and impact matrix. Further, we developed a conceptual strategy that will strengthen the infrastructure facilities and the conservation of the listed structures. So through this developed strategy, the effort will be made to establish further meaningful collaboration with the respective organizations who will be funding the whole process. We are thinking of doing this project through a PPP mode, that is public-private partnership mode. And we are also looking for funding right now. The proposal is, so there is a small 10-page document that is being drafted by me along with the two project partners, and we'll be submitting this document to the urban local body. The urban local body is basically adopting this document and will be making it a part of the statutory document called Heritage Conservation Plan for the city. So this is the first step in realizing this solution on ground. Although the fellowship is coming to an end, but I'll be still engaged with these organizations in actually implementing this project on ground. So I think this is all about this particular project. And I believe that every individual and every young professional here is, are exposed to multiple opportunities, and it is not visible in the beginning. But as you, dig deeper and try to meet people and talk to them, I think you'll find solutions to implement your ideas on ground. So yeah, that's it. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
thank you, Aditi, for a great presentation, but also for working in such an important topic. How can we bring the future to certain areas while protecting our culture and the past and the history that they hold? So I think this is a very complex project you're working on, but you're definitely showing how to push policy forward to make this a reality. So thank you very much for your presentation and ultimately for your work, which is very important. Well, I would now like to welcome our next speaker. Last night, I was doing a little bit of research on each one of the speakers, and I found that Wei Young, who is our next speaker, was just last week talking with Biden about his project and his initiative. So it's a pleasure to welcome AY, who was recently selected by the United Nations as one of 17 young leaders and the singer and spokesman for renewable energy, who is taking his music and message across the globe. As the founder and creative mind behind Battery Tour, he has developed proprietary technology to perform using renewable energy that is 100% sustainable. AY is making Project 17 and will produce 17 songs, one for each one of the SDGs, utilizing music as a tool for empowerment to drive real impact. With energy being such an important utility to fill our cities, this is a topic that interests us all and that is very relatable. So AY, the floor is yours.
Yo, I'm a little bit sick, guys. So I hope I come across clear. I think that I'll just break things down like in two things. Like there's Battery Tour, right, which led me to be this young leader, and then I'll tell you guys like what I'm doing. What I'm doing is one of the 17 young leaders. Hopefully all my emails are exited out. Okay, yo, so what's up? I'm AY Young, founder of the Battery Tour. And so that started in 2012. I got off this TV show called The X Factor. It's like 4 yeses from the celebrity judges. And I wanted everyone to hear my music. I was really big on this message of being yourself, saying hey to who you are, bringing people together. And so I discovered I could store energy in batteries. And so that's essentially what the Battery Tour is. I store solar energy in batteries and then do a concert. Right. So after a couple of hundred of these, maybe 200-300 of these, renewable energy powered concerts, I started to Google some things because I would be in cities and places in America that I realized didn't have electricity, and I had stored energy to do a concert, right? Or they didn't have like internet, right? And I found out that over 1 billion people lack energy in the world, right? And so I decided, wow, well, music is a universal language, and everyone can connect that, and you can bring everyone together using music as a vehicle, right? So I decided to kind of switch the Battery Tour to what it is today is kind of like an impact engine, right? And so I built some technology, a solar box, and started to use the concerts to raise money to send one person, one village, one place, right, access to energy. And so that's what I've been doing with the Battery Tour since 2012. We've powered over 800 concerts, close to 900, and we've gotten energy access to over 17 countries, right, all through the power of music. Now, I believe that like change comes from passion, right? And I think like with young people, with us in general, in order to really bring all of this sustainable change, I think it comes from our passion. I think we need to know our why, and that's one thing that the Battery Tour messaging is always about when it comes to the youth and the people of the world is like, hey, plug into your passion, utilize your passion, to power change and make an impact. And so, that's like been the message of the Battery Tour is like my passion's music. And so I use that as a vehicle to help people and really just pushing that message of whatever your passion is, you can use the goals as a framework to plug in with that passion and power change. I think if the youth really can understand that message, we'll be able to power the SDGs, right? So that I was just obviously designated by the Secretary General and Amina Mohammed. I'm one of the 17 United Nations Young Leaders. There are 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So you're like, well, what am I doing? How are you fixing this? Or how are you trying to advance the goals? Well, of course, through music, through this kind of impact model that I've been doing for 10 years. So what I've embarked on, what I started doing a year ago as a young leader, we all have a project. And so I started making the world's first sustainable album. I'm making one song for each of those sustainable development goals, but each song with a major artist, 17 major artists, 17 major companies that are sponsoring each goal, right? So we can, get in the studio, make the music, those kind of things. 17 major impact organizations. We're plugging in some of the biggest, just charities, organizations that do the work in the goal space, right? 17. And then, we're going to do obviously 17 songs, 17 concerts, all powered 100% by renewable energy next year. The music is going to use to empower these impact organizations to do the work, right? To financially empower them, to connect and spread and raise awareness about the goals, through the music, and then of course create the action to advance the SDG. So that is the project, and I'm super blessed now coming out of last year. I've been working with artists like Billie Eilish, right? We just cleared a record with one of the biggest bands in America, The Head and the Heart, hopefully working to get Paul McCartney on Goal 17 as well. So it's been moving really, really crazy, really, really great. And it's showing me that, music, creativity, social media, as we're plugging in, Instagrammers and TikTokers and using the framework of the goals, to say, hey, well, what are you passionate about? You're passionate about animals, plug in here and use your voice as a TikToker, use your voice as a community leader, right? It's mobilizing, people in general. The Battery Tour has always been a mobilizing mechanism. In every city or state we would go into, in those 800-900 shows, we would interface with the local community. We would bring together, synergistic organizations. We would host, open mics for local talent. We would give a voice to organizations that believed in sustainability or aligned with renewable energy or the SDG. So it's always been a transformative, community-oriented event. But now that we've kind of got the framework of the goals, and we've got this kind of trajectory of one song for each goal, and working with some of the biggest artists in the world and biggest companies in the world and organizations, I'm really seeing a magnification and what I really always dreamed of is collective action, breaking down so many of these silos and building bridges to connect every facet of humanity. That's really what I'm about. I believe everyone in the world is an outlet for change. I think we can all take an action, power, support change. That's what the Battery Tour is here to do, and bring, people together, to make impact. So yeah, guys, that's what I'm doing. Really blessed to be here with so many great, awesome people. I normally don't talk too long. 5 minutes is a long time. I don't even know. Yeah, but I'm super excited. And any questions or comments about where things are at, or what companies are contractually involved now, or what artists are you, or what songs are, whatever questions people may have, I'm open for. Thank you so much. Honored to be here to power change with you guys.
Thank you very much. I think you are making the topic of electrifying so much more reachable and digestible for people, and communicating it through music will just reach so many more. I think we all here can't wait to hear your new album coming up. I think that's going to bring all 17 goals to the center of the room in a very digestible way for everyone. So thank you very much for your work. And I would like now to welcome our next speaker, Edwin Namakula. He's a climate activist from Uganda. He's an organizer for Fridays for Future climate strikes, and a team leader and graphics designer for the Rise Up movement. Recent activism includes attending COP26 on the sailing on the Greenpeace warrior ship to Glasgow with other youth climate activists. So I welcome Edwin to the floor now.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this great opportunity and for hosting me. I'm Edwin Namakula from Uganda, a climate activist. Like so many other activists across the globe, I was inspired by Vanessa Nakate and also Greta Thunberg to do my climate activism. So the reason why I started my climate activism, it was two stories which impacted me the most. And one was, it was about my dad. The story shared about me, whereby in the eastern part of Uganda, whereby they were affected by the landslide and they had to move to a much better place for them. And during my lifetime, I've been able to see and then observe and witness these catastrophic floods, prolonged droughts, and also like displacing people around the areas in our part of Uganda. So in the Rise Up movement, we are working on a couple of projects that are aimed at combating climate change and also ensuring that we empower the youth in our country. We are installing solar panels and also making sure that different schools receive eco-friendly stoves. And also we are also making sure that the students in these schools benefit from the renewable energy. And also we are making sure that households, different households, we are giving them and also distributing different solar panels to them to ensure that they also benefit from the renewable energy. And meanwhile, since we recognize that our planet needs more natural solution, so we have introduced another initiative, another project, which is called the One Tree Project, whereby we reach out to different homesteads and we plant new trees. But all these projects have been on a standstill for a period of, because we have been experiencing the COVID-19 pandemic, and we have not been able to physically meet the people physically, and to ensure that the ideal way of creating a sustainable and resilient communities, it's better us, the people, trying to initiate these programs, meet them physically. Yeah, and promote young people. We as young people in our communities, we are doing what we can to ensure that the people in power get to know and understand that the climate crisis is real and it's happening and it's affecting all of us. So we are ensuring that at least we welcome these people from especially the people in power, to include us in the decision-making groups, because as you have heard, AY has a project called the Battery Tour. It's a sustainable project which it's sustainable for all of us. It includes everyone. And also we have the installing of solar panels in different schools, rural schools. It involves everyone. It's sustainable for all of us. And as Rise Up movement, we are ensuring that we have a platform that is called the 1 Million Activist Stories, whereby we share different quotes and stories of different activists across the globe, especially those who are most affected by the climate crisis. We make sure that their stories are heard. Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for your talk. I think you touch on very important points here. So you were mentioning how when implementing the project of the solar panels, you involve the community in pushing the project forward. And that is one of the targets of SDG 11. So as target 11.3 speaks to a participatory planning. And then you also extrapolate it to mentioning how we also need to do this with our governments, like be involved in the policy making. Yeah, this is what we're striving for. So thank you very much for pushing SDG 11 in your city and making it a reality. Now we're gonna move forward to our last speaker. I had the pleasure of meeting her in person a couple of years ago when this event was still in person. She's just such a bright light. I could talk more about her, but I'm gonna go straight into her bio, as there's so much she has accomplished at such a short age. We have Alexandria Villaseñor. She's the founder and director of Earth Uprising International. And at the age of 13, she co-founded the US Youth Climate Strike Movement. Part of the youth-led international, she's part of the youth-led international Fridays for Future movement. And now at the age of 16, she has become an internationally recognized environmental activist, public speaker, author, and founder of several more initiatives, including the climate education-focused nonprofit Earth Uprising International. She has addressed the Democratic National Convention, the United Nations, and the World Economic Forum. She is a contributing author to All We Can Save and Anthology of All Women Climate Leaders, and a child petitioner for the groundbreaking international complaint to the United Nations community on the rights of the children versus climate crisis. Alexandria serves on the advisory board for the National Climate Policy Platform, Evergreen Action, and is a youth spokesperson and advisor for the American Lung Association. She's the youngest junior fellow of the World Academy of Arts and Sciences, and also a Global Choices Arctic Angel. She speaks out on the urgency to address the Arctic crisis. For her work, she has received the Earth Day Network Youth Leadership Award, the Rachel Carson Environmental Justice Award, the Common Good American Spirit Changemaker Award, and she was included in Politico's top 100 people that influence climate change policy. So it's a pleasure to welcome Alexandria.
Hi, everyone. I'm very excited to be joining you again. It's no secret humanity is living on borrowed time and resources. Overshoot Day, which is the day every year where society has used up all the resources it can generate, comes earlier and earlier every year. In 2021, the Global Overshoot Day was July 29th. And actually, we are currently overusing Earth's natural resources by more than 70%. If anyone on Earth lived like the average American, we would need 5.2 planets to support us. So every year we're using resources that are taken from future generations, and these are resources that rightfully belong to youth and future generations. Some people seem to think we can transition all of our energy to renewable energy and then keep consuming and keep living exactly as we do today. But the truth is we can't. So when youth talk about sustainable development, we know the development of the future doesn't look like the development of today at all. And when we talk about sustainable development, we're not just talking about the buildings we live in and work in. We're talking about every product, actually every commodity we encounter in our daily lives. For example, we can't all drive electric cars in the future. There isn't enough cobalt, lithium, and copper on the planet to replace every vehicle that exists today with an electric car. We can't keep producing and consuming clothing at the rate we do today. 2/3 of our clothing are made from fossil fuel synthetics. And we can't keep filling our homes with tchotchkes, knickknacks, and clutter. Consumerism is literally killing the planet. Buying mindless stuff is actually driving climate change. So I've thought about this a lot and talked about this a lot with my climate activist peers. And to youth, sustainable development isn't about new development at all. Sustainable development goes so much deeper than what we build or consume. Sustainable development is about changing the way we live as a society. We need to build less, manufacture less, and consume less if we're going to live within the boundaries of the only planet we have. So what does this look like? Of course, today we're talking about cities, and in my view, the city is the center of our future way of life. We need cities where people live, work, and share resources in close proximity to each other. We need cities where most people don't need their own vehicles. We need cities where we share the resources and even the items needed in daily life. We need cities with infrastructure that supports communal living, and we need cities that are designed to cultivate a new anti-consumerism culture upon which our future planet depends. But finally, and probably most importantly, we need the governance and political will to drive this deep societal transformation. We can't rely on individual choice and individual action to make such profound changes in such a short timeline. Because as you all can see from the accelerating climate change fueled weather disasters that are happening almost daily now all over the world, we don't have a generation or two to make these changes. We have less than 10 years. And when you look at the rising conflict, rising authoritarianism, and decreasing democracy in our world at the moment, things aren't looking really good right now. Pushing our world leaders and the politics of our time to make the right choices for the planet is the challenge of my generation and the primary work of the youth climate movement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was exactly on point. Us at the Local Pathways Fellowship call ourselves urban optimists. We know that cities come with many challenges, but as you just mentioned, that is a way of reducing resource demand, as we can share so much. We can use shared transit and share everything, have a smaller footprint on our planet. So thank you for explaining it in such a seamless way. Well, thank you everyone for attending the panel. I'm looking at the Q&A, and as the three of you, Edwin, Alexandria, and Ava, were present at COP, we're getting questions on what was your experience or your main takeaway from it. I don't know who would want to start, maybe Edwin.
Edwin can go. I was going to say something.
Okay, go ahead.
What's up, Alex? How you doing, girl? I met her at COP too. What's up? Her dad's cool. You know, he's probably in the room. Yo, so this is what I say when everyone asks me how it was COP. I say there's 17, she knows, she heard this. There's 17 young leaders. There's 17 SDGs, right? And I'll say this, it was day 3, right? And I met Joseph. He's like one of the guys who work in the Envoy office. And he runs up to me, he's like, AY, you know, it's good to see you. I was like, bro, what's up, man? I was like, dude, where are the other young leaders? Because I was feeling lonely, you know, because it's like a really big place and, you know, it's a lot of people and celebrities. And he was like, AY, you're the only young leader they gave a blue zone access to. I was like, what? Right? When I was flying to Scotland, all I saw on the news was like, oh my gosh, this is the youth COP. It's all about the youth, you know, like this is the youth here. And I don't understand, you know, why there's 17 United Nations young leaders designated by Amina Mohammed, they're young leaders, and only one of them, right? So that's my answer to how COP was this year. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think we've learned over and over that people taking the decisions need to incorporate us more. They really need to realize the human capital that there is here, the talent. I've repeated over and over again, I very much value experience, but talent is talent. And if you're talented at 13, at 16, your voice should be heard. There are many scientists and artists who have developed their best work in their early 20s. So you don't need a long career to have very valuable input. So thank you very much for sharing that. What were your takes on COP, Edwin or Alexandria?
Yeah, this actually goes off of what AY was saying. The main takeaway, at least from a lot of youth activists, were that just how exclusive COP was, because there were a lot of young people who weren't in the conversation, and there are a lot of young people from communities who are being most affected by the climate crisis who should have been in those rooms, in those conversations. And so the reason why it's important that we have a COP that is intersectional and is bringing together intergenerational conversations is because if we keep having the same room with the same old white decision makers, then we're going to get the same privileged solutions. And that's why we need youth from all around the world who are being affected by the climate crisis to be there, influencing the policy and decisions that we get and the outcomes. And so it was a lot of pushing by youth activists, but we didn't get the action inside. What really got me hopeful was everything that was happening outside of COP, because there are continuous protests happening outside and Friday strikes happening outside. So really youth were the ones who inspired me, and civil society were the ones who were inspiring. And then hi AY, my dad says hi.
Thank you very much. Maybe Edwin, would you like to share some of your experiences?
Like all the other guys who attended the COP26, we happen to, me personally, I happen to join other 4 activists, like to sail on the Greenpeace Rainbow Warrior. The reason why we use the Greenpeace Rainbow Warrior to sail to Glasgow, we wanted the leaders to hear our voices, especially as people from the most affected communities. But then the day we arrived, we found that these panels and also these negotiation rooms, they were not including us. They were not including people from the most affected communities. But then we were left out, even if we had cards to access these, because we had observer cards to access different rooms, but we couldn't access them. And the good thing about COP26, we happened to see that there was solidarity among the young people from across the world, all demanding for climate action from the people in power. So we feel that the young people at COP26 were creating a stepping stone for those who will come after us, or even the young people who are still here, because we believe the people around here, the young people, are the leaders of tomorrow. So they are demanding for what is right, for what is sustainable for all of us.
Thank you very much for sharing this shared concern. What I can say from the Local Pathways Fellowship side is this is something that is replicated around the world in our governments, like what you experienced at COP. It's replicated in the field and on the ground in every city. We've heard from fellows that maybe they were working on their projects before, or they wanted to reach out to their government before being on the fellowship, and they would reach out and they would receive either no for an answer or no answer at all. But sometimes when they would go back as part of the fellowship and introduce themselves as like, hello, I'm part of the Local Pathways Fellowship Program. We are a group of 100 young leaders developing this project, and I'm backed by this organization. Then they would open the door and would be like, sure, what data do you need? What data set were you looking for? or who do you want a meeting with, and so on. So yeah, it is very sad to see how many times they just don't want to take the time to just open up the door to the ideas that the youth comes with. So maybe I would just like to ask Aditi, have you experienced this on your professional development?
I mean, I would completely resonate to what you guys have said. And since the beginning of my project, I was not able to approach the municipal corporation or the urban local body. I was shooting mails, I was like, and that was the pandemic time, and I was not able to visit the offices. Then I started thinking who these guys have worked with before. So I started mapping individuals and organizations who were involved with the urban local body in the development process. And I tried to make, some common previous relationship. I'm then looking for where I have studied or where I have worked. Can I find someone common who is worked with them? And I was ghosted a lot. I was I was ignored a lot, but I still continued pushing. And I think after 10 months, at least adoption of a set of guidelines in a statutory document is a great step. And making a team of around 20 people who are, the policy makers and who are a part of the urban local body, and being in that environment and instigating change with a fresh perspective is basically the award of this 10 months of toiling throughout. So I think there are solutions outside. It is difficult to, tap them, but you will eventually, be able to reach those aspects and keep on digging, and that will be, the final goal that you need to achieve. After that, the process is smooth when you start getting coordination and, support from people who can resonate with your vision. So yeah.
I want to be respectful of everyone's time, and we are a little bit past the hour. So I want to thank you all very much for joining this panel, for sharing your insights on what the issues are, and just working on the ground, carrying the message, and pushing for policy changes. I just want to share a couple of years ago, we wrote a paper from data we got from the fellows, where we learned that the main challenges that they would experience when wanting to push change forward or their projects was at the same level as access to decision making, also access to economic resources. So that is also a very important issue that will be covered in the Vatican Youth Symposium. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. I give it back to Gabriela.
Yes, I think that the floor now goes to Mir. So, okay, here you are. Okay, Mir, I will leave it up to your capable hands.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we meet at a time of great peril, at a code red situation, at a time when the future of this planet and its residents is at risk. We had over 400 people attending this symposium over the past 2 days from across the world, hailing from different backgrounds and diverse cultures, unique in our own ways. But what unites us is the determination that we have to see our world free of corruption, violence, a world which is safe for all living beings, and a world which is green and healthy for all. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, based on wherever you're joining us from across the globe, and welcome to the closing session of the Vatican Youth Symposium 2021. My name is Mir Mustafa, and as the Deputy Project Lead of the Global Events and Partnerships team, I sit here filled with adrenaline, excitement, and exhaustion. The past couple of weeks have been challenging, yet exciting and electrifying, as we put together this symposium for all of you here. And I thank you for joining us in this endeavor, an endeavor which is created so that we all can take one small step towards creating a world that we ought to be proud of. Building an equitable society is something which we all need to remember and work towards. And building this equitable society has been the forte and the expertise of our keynote speaker, Professor Muhammad Yunus, a world-renowned economist, a Nobel laureate, and a best-selling author. Professor Muhammad Yunus is the founder of the Grameen Bank and is often referred to as the father of microcredit. He has spearheaded an economic movement that has helped lift millions of families around the world out of poverty and given them an opportunity to restart their lives with dignity and respect. His life and his work is testament to the fact that building an equitable society is not a moonshot, but a very achievable mission. It is with great honor that I invite him now to address the symposium. Ladies and gentlemen, Nobel laureate, Professor Muhammad Yunus.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me with you. I'm delighted to meet all the young people who are attending this conference. And I was very happy to hear whatever I caught the last few minutes, the discussion, particularly Alexandria, what she was talking about. She almost pointed out all the issues that I've been raising, and I thought I will raise with you too, but she did a much better job than I could have done. The one thing I underlined what she said about the very limited time left for us to survive on this planet. So we are in a very critical moment of history. That's the point. We are in a very critical moment of history. Either we act and survive, not only survive, build a new world, which should be a happy world for all of us, or just disappear from this planet. What is happening is right now, we are very close to that point. So our decision has to be made now. It will be a very harsh decision, very tough decision, not a soft way of, okay, we'll try, give our best. It's not about giving our best. We have to give everything to make sure we save this planet and we survive on this planet. Today, human beings are the most endangered species on this planet. That's the whole thing is all about. Urgency piece is missing. That's the whole idea, that if you don't see the urgency, we miss the point. And also, this is the most critical moment in the human history, the entire human history on this planet. We don't see that as such, as if we are doing it, something will happen, we'll be there anyway. It's not like that. Because of our own fault, that's the point I wanted to draw your attention to. It's not made by some supernatural power. It's not made by God of any kind that you destroy your planet in this direction. It's not happening. It's our fault, the way we designed our life, the way we designed our thinking process, the way we designed our economic framework, that led to this result. So if you want to get away from this result, you have to undo this thinking process, undo those economic framework that we have been following all this time, because they are leading us to the suicidal path. We are about to commit ourselves as suicidal. And the civilization that we built right now is a self-destructive civilization. We have to undo that civilization. This civilization is based on profit maximization. We cannot get out of that profit maximization. While we are talking this, we are putting in trillions of dollars in the fossil fuel right at this moment. Our bankers are pouring in money, and we are having beautiful discussion at COP26 in Glasgow, how we will overcome all these problems. We are not going to overcome. The house is burning. And inside that house, we are having party, enjoying ourselves about all the successes and all the things we are doing. So we have to recognize that the house is burning. We don't have much time left. And that's the global warming part of it. But this is not the only thing. This is the additional piece I wanted to draw your attention. Another thing as destructive as the global warming is simultaneously happening, and for the same reason, profit maximization. The civilization that we have made us into money-making robots. And that's what leading to all this problem. The second problem, the mega problem, which is destroying, and in the process of destroying us, is the extreme wealth concentration. All the wealth of the world is concentrated in few hands. And the process is, it is becoming fewer and fewer hands, more and more wealth. In one way, you can describe 99% of the wealth that the world has created right now is in the hands of only 1% of the population of the entire world. So the 99% of the wealth owned by 1% of the people. What does it mean? It means 99% of the population have to live with 1% of the wealth. Why? Is there something wrong with this 99% of the people? No, we designed it that way. And particularly, this is coming, one particular institution responsible for it is the financial institution. Financial institutions are pouring in money if you have more money. If you don't have money, they don't bring any money to you. So you languish, you suffer, you remain at the bottom of the heap. So if you look at the income map or a wealth map, you see all the people of the world is at the bottom of the map. But that all the people are in the bottom of the map, but with a little bit of wealth in 1% of the wealth. Where is the wealth? Wealth is way above in the wealth map. Is in the sky, maybe in outer space, owned by few people. And the distance between people and the wealth, people in the bottom, wealth in the top, that distance is widening in every second. Even during the pandemic, while you have read in the newspaper, hundreds of millions of people lost their job, lost their livelihood, lost their free food on the table and so on. And many people, millions of people who hardly got out of the poverty line now are pushed back into the poverty again. This is, we're reading it. During the same period of pandemic, $11 trillion of extra wealth went to the people on the top. While people in the bottom is losing money, people in the bottom, people on the top are gaining money. So that's the machine we built. That's called economic machine. The economic machine is working only for few people. And what happens is it continues. It continues, it becomes a ticking time bomb, explosive. People will, with anger that all the hard work that people put in, they cannot retain the wealth. Wealth is going to somebody else because the design that we have made of the wealth, we have to undo that design. So we have to make a design of the economic system which will bring wealth and people together, not separating out from each other. Wealth in one way, people in the other way. So the wealth has to come down and be with the people together. That's the kind of direction we have to give. Third one is artificial intelligence is coming. You read every time about the artificial intelligence, you get excited, everything will be done by machine. We don't have to do anything. That's a terrible thing. If everything is done with the machine, what do the people do? And it's coming in a big way. And they're even projecting how many millions, how many billions of people will be out of job in how many years from now, because that's the direction we are going. And people on this planet, if we survive, even the global warming, even the wealth concentration, if we survive, people will become garbage on this planet. They have no use for themselves. So we don't want to create a world of that kind. So this is the civilization that we have created. What I'm saying, urging that we have to, during the time that we have to create a new civilization which is not based on profit maximization, which is based on sharing of the wealth, not concentrating the wealth. And it's possible. That's the direction that we want to go. So what I'm saying that what I try to explain to people to create a world of 3 zeros. In summary, what are the 3 zeros? First zero is zero net carbon emission, no global warming in this planet. We can do that because it's man-made thing. We decide not to do it, it will be done. It won't happen. We will create a world of net zero carbon emission and zero wealth concentration. Again, it's because of the machine. We undo that machine, reverse that machine, so that wealth comes to the people. And these are the design of that we are handling. We are trying to do it, what we call a social business to solve problem rather than make personal money out of it. And that idea is getting momentum, and universities are teaching these ideas and so on. So this is one. Third zero is zero unemployment. Artificial intelligence is creating massive unemployment, 100% unemployment. We say we create a world with 100% employment with entrepreneurship, or we all become entrepreneurs. Human being are natural entrepreneurs. So this is the direction we want to go. And we're inviting young people to create 3-0 Club to pursue this point. 3-0 Club, young people, only 5 young people can get together, create each club 5 people. And that then you network with each other. Pursue this point, how to make this happen, because the young generation today is the most powerful generation in the entire human history. I repeat, young generation today is the most powerful generation in the entire human history. Not because you are smarter than anybody else in the previous generation, but just because you have tremendous amount of technology in your hand, so powerful, which you never been able to, other generations never have access to such technology. So use this technology, use this power to change the world that you have. And last point I will make, and I'll stop here. I said to the young people who like you, I invite them to remember, we are in a spaceship called Planet. We are floating in this space on this spaceship. But the culture that we are going through, treating this spaceship as like a casino. We want to make money here. So we are having fun of making money. We don't realize that this is going for a big disaster. It's on the path of a disaster. So I'm telling the young people, why don't you get ready to become the pilot of this spaceship? Because you are the one who can take this planet in the right direction. You become the navigators. You create your own flight plan. This is the right time to create the flight plan. That's why we're talking about the creating 3-0 clubs. They will prepare, you'll prepare yourself within your 3-0 clubs to become the navigators of this planet, and make sure you can create a 3-0 world. You can create a new civilization. We have to say goodbye to the old civilization, create a new civilization. Civilization which is based on 3 zeros. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Yunus. Your words, as always, have been extremely thought-provoking and inspiring. And yes, let's all envision a world where we can move towards the 3 zeros. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
As we set out to achieve this...
I'll say goodbye.
Goodbye,
and take
sir.
leave from here. Thank you. Thank you
Goodbye,
very much.
sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining in. As we set out to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, there has been a dire need to invest in the best and the brightest ideas, solutions, and to build collaborative partnerships that will create a world that we all dream of. In this pandemic-infused world, that we are even further lagging behind on the timeline of achieving the SDGs, and the finance gap grows even deeper. Currently, there exists a gap of $2.5 trillion US, and at our current pace, the SDGs are nowhere going to be a reality till 2060. SDSN Youth and Nova Impact have partnered to launch a pilot of the SDSN Youth Seed Fund Awards, a global call to action to recognize, showcase, and invest in the next generation of young changemakers, industry trailblazers within the 3,000 members of SDSN Youth that are accelerating solutions towards achieving the SDGs. I now invite Mr. Jeffrey Pross-Green, Project Lead of Global Growth and Impact at SDSN Youth, and Ms. Chelsea Toller, founder of Nova Impact, to speak more on the SDG Youth Seed Funds Award. Jeff and Chelsea, over to you.
Thank you for the warm introduction, Mir. I'm going to share my screen now so that we can walk through this presentation and introduce you to this new and exciting initiative. Mir, are we good?
Yeah, all good.
Great. As Mir said, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on wherever you are in the world. My name is Jeffrey Pross-Green, and I'm the Impact and Growth Project Lead for SDSN Youth. My team's work focuses on scaling the growth and impact of SDSN Youth to ensure its future sustainability and the ability for us to continue to position young people at the forefront of achieving the SDGs by 2030. I'd like to start by thanking the organizers for the detailed educational presentations and sessions of this symposium. A special shout out to the SDSN Youth team for their hard work and preparation, and to each and every one of the participants for helping to contribute to yet another successful Vatican Youth Symposium. Today, I'm honored to speak about a new and exciting initiative which we've been working on developing throughout 2021. At the beginning of 2022, we are launching the SDSN Youth Seed Fund Awards. This seed fund is focused on building upon the momentum of the Vatican Youth Symposium over the last few days and the energy and enthusiasm of our network. We believe this new initiative is integral to our mission of continuing to create new and actionable pathways for our youth network. We want to build upon your impactful work by providing you access to the resources and support you need to address the SDGs in your communities, cities, and countries. Before we share more about the fund, I want to first share with you why we believe the time is now for such an initiative. As Mir highlighted in his introduction, and as you all well know and have heard throughout the symposium, the world is facing unprecedented challenges, and each year we continue to fall further behind achieving the SDGs. With a $2.5 trillion annual financing gap, we're 43 years behind schedule, and 0 countries are currently on track to meet all of the goals. We believe young people in our network are best positioned to accelerate solutions to achieve the SDGs. Since 2015, we have supported more than 3,000 young people across 127 countries. These youth have gone on to innovate new regenerative agricultural practices, develop financial products for the unbanked as a means for financial inclusion, and establish new sustainable business models for the circular economy. As Jeffrey Sachs stated, during the past 5 years, SDSN Youth has grown into one of the world's largest and most impactful networks of young people dedicated to sustainable development. It has forged a global alliance of students, professionals, teachers, and young leaders in the quest to achieve the SDGs. Increasingly, as youth members scale initiatives within and outside of communities, they are seeking additional financial resources and support to scale their impact as they tackle new and more complex challenges. For these reasons and many more, we're launching these awards, which I'm thrilled to share more about with you today. Before speaking about the awards in more detail, the application cycle timeline, and how you can get involved, I'd like to first introduce a key impact partner, Chelsea Toller from Nova Impact, who we're thankful to have here with us today. Please give a warm welcome to Chelsea, who will speak more about her work with Nova and the partnership with SDSN Youth.
I'm so excited to be here with new friends, old friends. The work that Jeff has put together and the UN SDSN Youth team, alongside with Brighton and leadership, we're really excited about what it means to invest in youth across the world. In terms of Nova Impact, we're a large network and community of next gens that are passionate about the SDGs. We're passionate about the work of UN SDSN Youth. We come from backgrounds of philanthropists and impact investors and intergenerational conversations. And we're really excited for what this is going to mean, not only for our work or for the work of youth, but for the world. Turning it back over to Jeff.
Thank you so much, Chelsea, for sharing more about your work with Nova Impact. And in addition to Nova being an invaluable partner for the launch of these Seed Fund Awards, we're also excited to be working with SDSN, who will be supporting the administration and oversight of the fund. Without further ado, we're excited to announce the 2 awards. The Global Youth Innovation Awards and the Global SDG Impact Awards. These awards will showcase, support, and award SDSN Youth member solutions and private sector commitments that are in alignment with the SDGs and can serve as a building block to scale SDG impact globally. The Youth Innovation Awards are a call for applications for more than 3,000 youth network members worldwide who are building real solutions to the SDGs. while the Global SDG Impact Awards is a global call for nominations to recognize the movers and shakers in industry and academia in order to raise awareness of the outstanding practices in the field and the potential to bring about rapid scale development in achieving the SDGs. We will work collaboratively with the awardees to provide seed funding, mentorship, and access to exclusive opportunities and benefits to help you pave the way towards realizing the SDGs by 2030. Some of these benefits will include up to $5,000 in seed funding, the opportunity to collaborate and learn from SDG experts in various fields of sustainable development, access to a talent pipeline of mentors and youth leaders helping you to overcome challenges and achieve your objectives, increased visibility in the SDG and sustainability space, and the ability to showcase your solutions and commitments at premier events and networks. Among this, there'll be many more exciting opportunities to receive support from the SDSN Youth and Nova Impact networks. There will be two separate but interconnected evaluation and selection processes for the awards. The two stages of evaluation will be done by SDSN Youth members. Yes, that means you all, which will happen in stage 1 of the evaluation process, and the SDG expert panel, which will be composed of leading SDG advocates in their fields for stage 2 of the application and nomination review process. For the first stage, we will establish a peer review committee of 6 to 12 network members. These members will work with SDSN Youth leadership to conduct the first round of evaluations of the applicants and nominees. For the second stage, the SDG expert committee will be composed of approximately 6 committee evaluators who are experts in various fields of sustainable development. These committees will be responsible for selecting the awardees for the Global Youth Innovation and SDG Impact Awards. And the pillars that will make up our search and selection process will be rooted in transparency, inclusivity, creativity, and collaboration. Now I'd like to highlight a few of the key criteria we will use to evaluate applicants. Applications and nominations must be both innovative and have a measurable positive impact towards achieving at least one of the 17 SDGs. The key criteria below are intended to ensure that applicants develop well-rounded applications that meet key pillars of impact centered around innovation, collaboration, and execution through a systemic and transformative approach. Some of these key criteria include impact, scalability, talent, innovation, execution, and more. As mentioned at the beginning, we will be kicking off these awards at the beginning of next year, with the application cycle opening in mid-January. The timeline for these awards is as follows. The application cycle will be open from mid-January to early June, with the application process then closing. And at the beginning of May, the evaluation process will start, with the awardees being announced in the middle of June. Then at that time, awardees will begin to receive support and access to more opportunities between July and the end of 2022 in December. Please note that this timeline is currently tentative and is subject to change, and you all will be the first ones to know as this timeline evolves. So now I'm sure at this point you're asking, how can you get involved to help make this fun initiative a resounding success? Well, you can start by joining our selection committee. Over the next month, we'll be recruiting members to join our 2 committees. If you're interested, please be on the lookout for more information via Facebook Workplace and the SDSN Youth newsletter. Additionally, please make sure that you apply. As an SDSN Youth member, you can apply to the Global Youth Innovation Awards to be eligible for the benefits we described earlier, from funding to mentorship to global recognition. Nominate. You will be able to nominate industry and academic leaders for the Global SDG Impact Awards, who will be eligible for exclusive awards opportunities and various sponsorship benefits. Sponsor. Right now, we're looking to spread the word to those who you think might be interested in supporting and sponsoring this fund. The awards initiatives will give sponsors the opportunity to tap into the SDSN Youth and Nova Impact networks and communities while receiving global recognition at the Seed Fund Awards announcement. And lastly, sign up and join our newsletter to stay up to date on the latest fund developments and the youth industry action taking root to address the SDGs. Lastly, I would like to conclude by thanking you for taking the time to be here and to learn more about this Seed Funds initiative. And to end on a note, by just saying that with your support, we can mobilize, invest in, and uplift the next generation of one of the largest global youth movements to advance pathways and partnerships towards achieving the SDGs on a local and international scale. And that begins with you all. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to speak more about the Seed Fund. Please, I think we'll now designate a few minutes for Q&A. And don't be hesitant to reach out to myself or Chelsea moving forward. Thanks again for your time, and I'm looking forward to working with you in the coming months.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey, and thank you so much, Chelsea, for that presentation. And I'm sure that this will be one step that will move us in the right direction to achieving the SDGs. Today, we are also joined by Mr. Chris Kelly, CEO of the Queen's Commonwealth Trust. Chris brings with him over 15 years of professional experience in services such as governance and organizational development, change and program management, financial and fund management, and experience to support and strengthen community-based organizations. Chris has been the founder, trustee, and advisor of a number of international development organizations working with young people and other communities around the world. He feels energized by the opportunity to work and support young people and to increase their impact through social ventures. Mr. Kelly, it's an honor to have you here with us today, and I now invite you to address the gathering.
Many thanks, and all delegates, welcome. Wow, what a hard act to follow, following Mahamas Yunus's very wise words. But even before that, I caught the end of AJ and Alexandria, some really wise words there as well about the world having to sit up and pay attention to the younger generations, in the interests of all of us. So, Chelsea and Jeffrey, really interested to hear about the Seed Fund. I mean, that sounds really, right on message. We should talk because we're very similar in a sense at the Queen's Commonwealth Trust. So let me just say a little bit about what we do, and just for a couple of minutes. But we are here to support young leaders who are transforming their communities. And so what do we do as the Queen's Commonwealth Trust? We work in the Commonwealth nations, so that is the 54 countries in the Commonwealth. So I'm sorry, it's not everybody, but it is 2.5 billion people. So so it's kind of a significant minority. And we provide flexible funding over a number of years to youth-led organizations. We provide practical advice and support that is around, say, financial management, safeguarding, demonstrating impact, governance, and kind of very, very focused support as well. And we provide a network of about 1,000 young leaders who are working on social businesses, social impact, social change makers effectively around the world. So we are particularly interested in sustainable, scalable impact as well. So Jeffrey and Chelsea, really interested to see that those are three of your aspects you're looking at. And we're here to help you in whatever way we can. So I would say we cover all 17 SDGs. I mean, we're small, but we cover all of them through 5 thematic areas. So agriculture and food, the environment, education and employability, health, and inclusion. But really, if it's a great idea that is already been demonstrated by people working in that in a social for social impact, that they've already got a track record of demonstrating in, come and apply to join our network. Go to our website, apply to join our network. It's open to anybody, and once you're in there, you will get invited to kind of funding opportunities. You'll get invited to kind of use some of the resources that are in the private space, and that is being developed further over the next few months. and there are other opportunities to kind of profile and champion those who we work with as well. So that's really it, Mo. It was just to say, look, we are there to support as well in a similar way to the SDSN Youth Network. We would love to grow the number of people in our network. If you're a social change, social impact person, you've got a history of that, please come to our website, apply to join the network, and then we'll see what we can do together. And you know, we're the younger in the generation of the future. So you know, and I count myself probably the extreme end of that. But many of you are much younger than I am, and you know, you are the future. So we need to do what we can to support you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chris Kelly, for your words, and we look forward to a collaboration with the Queen's Commonwealth Trust to build young leaders that will shape the future of tomorrow. Thank you again for joining us. While this event is primarily spearheaded by a couple of individuals, it is, however, a result of the determination and the constant hard work of the entire Global Secretariat of SDSN Youth and the team at the Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences. Over the past many months, the inputs from our colleagues have been invaluable and instrumental in shaping the symposium, especially the guidance from our Global Director, Brighton Kauma, and the efforts that he's put in to make this symposium a grand success. I now invite him to address the symposium. Brighton, the floor is yours.
Amir, thank you so much. Very excited to finally get to this stage where all of us joining from different parts of the world are bringing in ideas, recommendations, but also most importantly, solutions to our shared challenges. I'd like to first of all thank all the speakers that have spoken today, beginning from Princess Eugenie in the morning during the opening ceremony, where she emphasized the role that all of us play in the development agenda, not as bystander, but as active contributors to changing the face of our society. I'm also very grateful to many other people that have spoken, from A.Y. Young to Alexandra. We have seen people speak about the different work they are doing across the spectrum of sustainable cities, the climate crisis, human rights, justice, inequalities, health, education. All these are completely fundamental to the well-being and welfare of our society. And thank you so much, Chris, as well, for really highlighting the role that the Queen's Commonwealth Trust is doing. As somebody that has seen the work you've done over the last few years, having been a fellow myself, does make me realize that through our concerted effort, we can create massive change. Also, I'd like to encourage all of you that are in this space to follow closely the work of our different partners, from what the Pontifical Academy of Sciences is doing, and our partners who've been extremely instrumental in bringing these events to light. With the coming up of our seed fund, which my colleagues Jeffrey and Chelsea have spoken about, we'd like to encourage you to look out to our website and see the many opportunities that are emerging. But most importantly, I would like to use this time not only to thank all of you, but to emphasize a few things that have emerged from the last couple of days. Number one thing that has been very common across all the different speakers is a key realization that the antidote to doomism is action. And if all of us perceive ourselves as active contributors of knowledge and active contributors to the development of society, we need to take a step in this coming year as part of our resolutions to extend a helping hand to the person next to us. Get involved in an organization in your community. Get involved in a community action where you are. Get involved in what SDSN Youth is doing. Look up what many of our partners are doing and be an active global citizen, because that's the mission and mandate that brings us here as an organization, to not only accelerate solutions for sustainable development among some of the world's brightest and smartest young people, but to also create a community of practice where we can share opportunities, where we can be able to inspire each other, but most importantly, where we can create solutions and devise strategies to a better world. Getting into 2022, SDSN Youth has set up ambitious plans where we would like to increase and partner with many other member organizations. As you might already know, we have our membership program, which brings together different stakeholders running organizations and institutions to be a part of this community. But also we have other opportunities aimed at elevating public dialogue on the role of young people in sustainable development. And we'll be very excited to continue engaging with you, to continue working with you, and to continue realizing that change begins now and it begins with us. And that the solution to all the shared challenges is localization of all these ideas we have. You don't need to have a rocket science idea to change the world. It begins with one person. When you change and influence someone's perspectives about society, you're one step away from creating massive change. Again, I wish to wholeheartedly thank you on behalf of SDSN Youth. And I wish to thank all our partners and my team that has worked extensively hard to bring this event to what it is today, including our partners at the Pontifical Academy of Sciences and Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences, without whom this event wouldn't have been a success. I'm very grateful and I look forward to journeying with all of you. We've created a partnership and this partnership is very strong. It's bounded by strong values of human dignity. And we are not going to break this relationship we've established. And I look forward to working together next year. And I look forward to continuing engaging with you on social media. Please tag us, share your thoughts, mention the Pontifical Academy of Sciences, mention QCT, mention SDSN Youth, mention all our partners, and let's take this conversation online and tell everybody that the symposium has taken place and the symposium is mobilizing solutions to our shared challenges. So I'm excited and I'll retweet all your sharings online. Thank you so much, and I'll pass it on to Mira to continue with the procession.
Thank you so much, Brighton. We at SDSN Youth are joined by our lovely partners at the Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences in hosting the symposium year after year. Their dedication to youth empowerment is evidently clear and highlighted by their involvement in promoting young people to make a difference. I now invite the Chancellor of the Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences, His Excellency Monsignor Marcelo Sanchez Sordano, to address the gathering.
Thank you, Mustafa, and thank you, Brighton. And thank you to all the people and very nice speech that we have also yesterday, but also this afternoon for me this day. What can I say? I agree with all the positive things that you say, and also the Nobel Prize. The situation is very complicated, but you are our future. You are our hope, not only because you are young, but because you are leaders, creative leaders that can change things. So we need to come back to the real center of the things that build the human dignity. Because the problem of today, I say, the Nobel Prize, is that we have a sort of this dictatorship of money. And it's only money, the things that are the majority of the people interesting. I don't see the majority of the people, but the strong powers to control the world. I say the Nobel Prize, this mind thing, this in French we say the pensée unique, mainstream that control the situation. So we need to come back at these very central questions that are truth, good, justice, beauty. And this is just in your head, also in our relation. I say the Nobel Prize today, however, the human relationships are vitiated by hatred, selfishness, greed, and injustice. That is clear. So this new relationship that we are trying to create with these meetings, that is I don't know, this is the 10th meeting that we organize, but other meetings, in the end, we create a new relationship between us. We can say that could be a human sustainable development, because also the sustainable development need to be a human, because if we don't have the human sustainable development, that is our relationship, we don't have the other, about the things, about the nature, about the other things. So, and what are the absolute values that we can sustain, and we can defend, and we can conserve, and we can grow in this interpersonal relationship that we can do? And this we need to do to give up on pain, to being unhappy. So what are the real values, the absolute values that are values always and everywhere valid? And for me, these are only two, but they are very radical. Is love and justice. We need to love to the other, and we to be justice with the other. That is just the contrary of the civilization today in the strong powers, not in all people, but in the strong powers. So we need to develop in our network, need to be founded in these two very important values, that is love and justice. The other values are very important, as inclusion, diversity, and equity, but all these are in function of justice and love. So really, we need to understand that this is the central of the human being, and to become human beings, we need to be our relation and our being founded in this values. And I want to finish when I think that also, to come back to something to say the Nobel Prize, we need to be conscious that if we don't found these transcendent values of love and justice in something transcendent that we call God, or all civilizations have a form of relation with God, we not obtain this result. Only in a transcendental foundation we can obtain this result. Look, we have recently in the Academy a fantastic meeting about the early humans in the history, with one of the most important specialists to find the famous Lucy. Lucy is a lady to live 3,200,000 years ago. And what was the conclusion? Not made by a bishop, but made by this specialist, layman. What that the characteristic of the human being begin to be a religious being. The superior animals have many things in common, also instruments, also the things, also houses, we can say, but not in common this spiritual relation with a transcendent being. So please, not lose this, that is a characteristic of the human being. Non-belief in the thing that say the pensionic, that God is a medieval thing that not count in our life. To really build a new civilization, we need to be founded in the transcendence of God and to pray. So please, renew your prayer with God. I say this because this is really the main way to obtain happiness. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for this homily, but I am bishop, so thank you.
Thank you so much for those words and for the guidance that you've provided us.
Thank you.
Over all the editions of the Vatican Youth Symposium, Ms. Gabriela Marino the coordinator of the symposium from the Pontifical Academy of Social Sciences, has gone far beyond her job description to ensure that the participants of this symposium have a memorable experience. Gabriela, I congratulate you, I thank you, and I now invite you to share your thoughts with us in this 8th edition of the symposium.
Thank you, Mayor. You saved me a lot of work this year, actually, by having it online again. I was bracing for it, but I really, really hope to be able to put all of my efforts into inviting you here next time in 2022. And right now, I just want to say that I want to thank the amazing and inspiring panelists and the wonderful attendees. Give yourself a round of applause. And please stay in touch. I posted the Twitter handle of our academy, and you can always ask for my email as well. We would love to hear from you during the year. So happy holidays to everybody, and thank you so much again.
Thank you so much, Gabriela. Organizing this symposium again, I think it goes without saying, is no small feat. There's sleepless nights, countless email threads, multiple time zones to handle, protocols and schedules to navigate, and a brand to maintain. And over the last 4 years, Kayla Collier, the coordinator of the symposium and the project lead of the global events and partnerships at SDSN Youth, has successfully managed to pull off edition after edition without any glitch and with the utmost grace and excellence. Kayla, I congratulate you again and invite you to speak a few words.
Thanks, Mir. Let's hope we don't glitch now and jinx myself, right? But yeah, thank you, Monsignor and Gabriela, and of course to Brighton and Mir and Amy, our communications team, who's been really helping us and driving what you see on social media. I would love to be in Rome with you guys, but unfortunately we can't. So I really hope in 2022 to see all of you on the ground there and really meet at the Casino Pio Quattro. I guess my one last message is just I hope everyone who's attended has been able to take something with them today, some aspect of inspiration to feel motivated to keep going, especially, you know, during the pandemic. We've all maybe felt a little dragged down. So hopefully maybe this can inspire you again to continue on with your movements and your initiatives and your project, and to reach out to SDSN Youth, because we all are a collective movement together. So thank you to the panelists over the last 2 days. And it was really great. Thanks.
Thank you, Kayla, for that. The circle of life, the concept, not the song, but I do like the song though. The circle of life teaches us that every living being has a limited time on this planet. We contribute something and we pass away, and our void is filled by another being. The same concept happens to be true for experiences. We might encounter a lot of experiences, a lot of conferences and events throughout our lives, which add substantial value to our personalities. And these events end with time, and they're replaced by another event that we go to. But what doesn't end is the inspiration and the learning that we take from it. In a short time from now, we'll all be departing our own ways from this symposium. And it does signal the end of it. But what doesn't end is the endeavor that we're all tasked with. The endeavor to make a positive change in the world. That continues and will not be disrupted by anything. So continue to dream, resolve, and hustle for a better world. The world doesn't need one perfect act of kindness. It needs 7.7 billion imperfect ones. So don't wait for your perfect moment. Don't wait for the perfect idea to strike. Every action that you take, every move that you make will foster the growth and create various pathways that will lead us to achieving the Agenda 2030. The time to act is now. The decade of action has begun. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Stay safe and take care. And we'll now see you all in the Youth Circles discussion starting in a couple of minutes. Thank you all very much.